What's up, guys? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I want to break down what's happening with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. Just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total, and the offer ends at the end of March. So, unfortunately, guys, Tesla's not looking too great. I want to just say this because of the fact that we're getting rejection so far. But when you zoom out of the chart, you guys can see there's been a downtrend. Tesla was at 480, almost 490 a share. We rejected, made a lower high, rejected, made a lower high in this range, rejected over and over again. And then Tesla was trying to rebound a bit after so much downside. Elon Musk was getting lots of criticism. There was all this news about their sales declining. And as a result of all that bad news, Tesla, dumped really, really hard to the point where it had to bounce for a couple of days. And despite getting this bounce, despite getting some good buy ratings, we need to see Tesla break past 360 to turn back to bullish. So this is the resistance from right over here. Let me actually bring back some lines and show you. When you go back to right over here, Tesla had this resistance at 362. This is where the breakout happened back around that November period. So this is what led to Tesla breaking out very nicely during the big bull run. But in this case, Tesla has not been able to break past it. We saw a retest of it, and we're beginning to reject right here. So I'm not bullish on Tesla unless we break 362. Then yes, my opinion could change. But for now, I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that we are consistently rejecting off these very, very key levels. If I delete that support, we kind of draw this out like this. You guys can see that this is what Tesla's been looking like. So we have another trend line of resistance. We're not really there yet. And for us to get back up there, we have to break 362. We haven't been able to do that so far, so I'm a bit concerned about this potential downtrend continuing. And that's where we're going to be very careful. So when it comes to the trend, when you look at Tesla carefully, the EMAs are sloping downwards. And then the trend is like this. We make this like lower high, a lower low, lower high, lower low. So is this going to be a lower high for us to make another lower low? Or do we break past 362 to try to get back up towards these highs up here and maybe even try to, break past this like gap fill to break this high? In order to do that, you have to try to break resistance at 362. So far, if it rejects off this and we can't reclaim it, there's going to be a risk of us dipping even lower. For there to be a reversal, you also could look for a potential higher low to be made. So if we bounce off our key fib levels like the 0.5 retracement area, a move like this could be, signaling a bounce, right? If you dip a little bit and try to bounce, you got to get back above 362 at the very least. So that's why I'm trying to say that, like, if Tesla does get a rejection here, and then if we make a lower high and we never reclaim 362, at least for the next couple of weeks, there's going to likely be a continuation lower that could be coming. So I just want to give you guys a warning about that. That Tesla, it was trying to bounce very nicely. We need to break 362 to turn back up, otherwise this downtrend will likely continue. When you zoom out and go to like the daily time frame, it's the same thing. So the daily is continuing to make lower highs over and over again. There's also this gap over here. So I wonder if we end up coming back down to 336. We'll see if this low is held or not. If it's not held, if we end up losing the support right here on this like 325 area, I'm also going to be looking at this imbalance over here. There's actually a gap technically around the 299 zone, very close to where 300 is. And then there's something very interesting. There's a lot of liquidity over here around the 270 area. If we do end up losing 300, I'm looking for that as a potential target as we have these gaps to fill. So we'll see if Tesla gets a rejection or not. So far, it is rejecting, but what I mean by that is, are we going to see the trend reject, right? Is the trend about to turn downwards? We'll have to be very, very careful now. There is some weakness here. I'm seeing some new headlines coming out about how the U.S. State Department did not include Tesla in its contract. There's no $400 million or $500 million contract for them to basically buy those armored vehicles from Tesla. And now I'm seeing headlines about that, so it's not the best of news. So keep that in mind. This is like continuing to dip. I also want to add that for the markets, on Monday, it's going to be President's Day. So the stock market's going to be closed. There's not going to be trading on Monday. So if you're holding anything overnight, if you're holding anything for Tesla in terms of like options or trading, please be very careful because you will not be able to exit the position until Tuesday, right? The day after President's Day. So just want to give you guys a heads up about that. This is looking a little concerning to me unless we could get back above 362. So that's my honest assessment of Tesla. We have to be very careful. For SPY, We're beginning to reject a bit here, but it's not looking too bad unless we lose 608. So watch 608 flat to see if that holds on SPY. If that does not hold, we could be dipping back down to like 605 or below. That's going to be very, very key for how we end up continuing to move. And if 608 holds, we could try to bounce again, try to get back up above the 610s. So to be bullish, you need to break past 610, the all-time high, essentially, all past all the 610s. Then we're looking for an attempt for like 612.5 and 615. If we dip, we're continuing to dip here, so I'm looking for 608 to see if this holds. If that does not hold, we could be dumping back down to like 605. So we'll see if that holds or not. So please be very careful. I do want to warn you that every time SPY has hit 610, we have rejected historically. So I would just warn to be careful. There is potential for us to try to be a breakout, looking at the fact that we're breaking this trend line right here. But for now, we have to be very, very careful, as anything can really happen. So I'm here to be very unbiased, especially for the time being. SPY is very choppy. It is dipping a bit, though. There's like a slight downtrend despite the chop. If you look at like the 5 minute time frame, you'll see what I'm talking about. Right, it's choppy. If you look at the way it's just chopping around, but it's slowly downtrending a little bit. That's because we're at some very, very tough resistance. So for now, we're just in a range right now. We need to see this thing lose 608 to turn more bearish. And as long as we hold that, I think this has the potential to try to bounce later on. So keep that in mind. Watch those levels very, very closely. The QQQ is looking stronger than SPY, especially thanks to Nvda. It's very bullish looking on the 4 hour time frame because of the fact that we still have this imbalance up here. So as far as this goes, I'm going to be watching to see if 540 is tested again. As long as we don't lose 535, we do favor a potential bounce that could be coming. If we do end up losing support at 535, we could turn back down to like 533. For now, we're just going to likely shuffle here and maybe run later on. So I think this has more potential than SPY. For now, this is showing some strength. So for now, my view is that this is going to chop around in this range, and then eventually it's going to try to run. The Russell's looking a little bit weaker. We have to get back above 226.5 to bounce. Otherwise, we could be dipping to like below 225. Then 223 could be next. For ES, we're range bound completely. We're watching to see if 6122 and 6100 hold. If they don't hold, then this could dip even more. If they do hold, this could bounce. So we'll just have to see how this goes, especially as we have this like inverse head and shoulders that's kind of developing here. There's an imbalance above, so there is potential in ES to try to bounce next week. As long as we don't do 6122 and 6100, yes, this could attempt to bounce. So we'll see how it goes. For NQ, this is dipping just a little bit, so we'll have to see if we can hold above 22,000. If we lose 22,000, yes, this will turn back down. If we could hold around the 22,000s, we're looking for a big bounce back up to 22,400, especially with this inverse head and shoulders that's developing, so we'll see how it ends up going. For Bitcoin, we're looking bullish on the 4 hours as long as we don't lose 97,179. We're looking for an attempt to get back up to 98,837. For Nvidia, we're pushing very, very nicely. We have this big gap to fill back up towards the 140s. So I think this is favoring the upwards direction. Unless we end up losing 132, I think this is still favoring more upside momentum. I think this is going to break out to fill this gap over the next couple of weeks. Within 2 weeks from now, before earnings comes out, I think this is going to pump even more. So keep that in mind. That's my opinion. It's looking quite good so far compared to the market. Apple's looking decent. We have a nice triple bottom and a bounce that's coming. As long as we don't lose 240, we could slowly uptrend for 246 as the most likely possibility. There's a good chance Apple goes for it. For AMD, we're looking like pretty decent right now. We're on a bit of an uptrend so far. So we're holding support very, very nicely. On coin, we're dipping a bit. We could be retesting like 268. Amazon, on the other hand, is kind of like bearish. It's making a bit of a downtrend of a move. Look for 27.5 to potentially be tested. It might dip a bit as it's choppy. For Meta, as long as it's above the green EMA, the 20 EMA at 722, we favor upside. The 740 area could be coming next. It's doing a great job at uptrending. Microsoft is a little bit bearish, could be dipping to about 406 right over here. So it's still technically on a downtrend. Google's very flat here, might retest like 185 and then try to bounce. Overall, there's not really much that's going on. So in essence, there's a lot of chop right now. There's a lot of chop right now in the markets, lots of sideways price action, a little bit boring. However, as time goes on, there is potential for SPY and the QQQ to bounce higher as long as they hold some key supports. Tesla, however, is looking a little bit lackluster again because we're rejecting off this key support. I did call out yesterday. I was expecting a test of 362. We did test that, but we were not able to break past it. So far, Tesla could be dipping even lower. We're going to be watching the mid 340s. If we can't get back above 350, I'm looking for a move back down towards 346, by the way. So keep that level in mind, and then we'll see if we end up holding or not. And then if we do continue to fall, like I said before, Tesla may continue the downtrend. So it's not looking that great. This might dip a little bit lower. And we're technically on a downtrend unless we reclaim 362. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, that's it for this one. Don't forget the stock market's going to be closed on President's Day. So there's not going to be trading on Monday. Until I see you guys again, I thank you all so much for listening. Have a good day and peace out.